Welcome in, Whiskey Freaks. It's another episode of the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. I'm John Stark, your good and faithful host, your bourbon brother, your bourbon beacon, as it were. And I'm leading you through the weird, wild, and wonderful world of whiskey the best I can. And today, guys, I'm keeping it real. There's going to be no crazy conspiracies to open the show with. I'm not going to have any pop culture references about Tiger Woods or Sydney Sweeney or even Taylor Swift or Trump Jesus or Jesus Trump. I'm not even going to mention that Artemis 2 launch. You know, that cutting edge moon mission thing. And I'm especially not going to point out that it kind of looked a lot like a 1970s Saturday morning claymation cartoon special. Not even touching that. But I am starting the show today with a little, I'll call it a thank you. Look, I always say this podcast is free, and technically it is, for you all. But you have to actually tune in. And seriously, y'all are tuning in. You're all over the globe. Every state, places like Lithuania and Germany and Japan, Vietnam, Singapore, Finland. I think y'all get what I'm getting at here. You're picking up what I'm putting down. And I want you to know that I see you and I appreciate you and I love that you're listening. So now I've got all my ass kissing out the way. Let's get into the good stuff today, guys. The bourbony goodness awaits, and I've got all kinds of things to throw your way. And we might just learn something while we're at it. I got a couple new releases to mention from our good friends at Buffalo Trace and from NBA superstar Steph Curry. And I've got the 2026 winner for World's Best Bourbon. And we're only in April of 2026. I'm not sure how that works. But I'm going to tell you who won, and I'm going to tell you who was the non-Kentucky bourbon winner as well. And we get to the bottom of a black-owned bourbon battle. Who has the first African-American-owned bourbon business in the state of Kentucky? Well, there was a big lawsuit here recently. I'm going to put my Judge Judy robe on, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. I do not give legal advice. Please understand that. I got to say that for my disclaimer. And finally today, guys, this is exciting for me. Hope it'll be exciting for you too. I'm going to review Jackson Purchase Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and that's the distillery that Master Distiller Craig Beam is at now. This is batch number 1. It's foolproof. These are the cats, Jackson Purchase. They're out on the far western edge of Kentucky, right across the river from my home state, Missouri. And I want to let you in on the tasting notes of this Jackson Purchase batch 1. And I want to find out if a 4-year-old bourbon can compete in this wild, wacky world of whiskey. We're going to find out today if it's a good first try, guys. So hang with me for the next little bit, and we'll find out together. So here's the deal. I've got a little bit of news to talk about. Buffalo Trace, they're always relevant. They're always top of mind. And I really hate saying that. I hate top of mind. But here I am saying it, right? I don't know who comes up with these sayings, guys. I really don't. But Buffalo Trace. Now, I just got back, and when I say I just got back, 2 weeks ago, because I meant to put this episode out, but I had a different episode. I had a lot of things going on. Anyway, you guys have gotten a couple little small bites of episodes recently. I'm going to intermingle these longer form episodes with some of those shorter ones. It seems like you guys, the internet, likes the shorter ones, actually, the 10-minute ones. I don't understand why. I like to ramble on like I'm doing today. But I found that it is fairly easy to put out some of the shorter ones too. So I'm not really apologizing for that. I'm just letting you know that's what's going to be happening. Some shorter episodes intermingled between the longer form ones today. And that's kind of going to take the place of the Splash and Dash. Splash and Dash is probably going to go into the trash bin. And we're going to be doing those 10-minute episodes intermingled with the long one like today. So anyway, I say I just got back from a trip from Kentucky that was actually a couple weeks ago. And doggone it, we had to cruise through Louisville. And so we swung by Old Forester Distillery. It's down on Whiskey Road downtown. and I snagged a bottle of their 117 series High Angels Share Rye. It's this cute little 375. I paid $65 for it at the distillery. That is MSRP. I'm going to have an upcoming review on that pretty soon, actually. So be on the lookout for that one. They've got a cool restaurant right next door to Old Forester, and it's called Doc Crow's. We stopped there. We got some fantastic barbecue. I got a pour of Dad's Hat Rye Whiskey. I highly recommend Dad's Hat Rye Whiskey. And a pro tip, like I said, it's right next door to Old Forester. You don't have to hunt. You don't have to look around. You just literally walk right next door. They have a really fantastic, I think their whiskey list is 48 pages long. When you scan the little QR code and it comes up on your phone, I think it's 48 pages long. Anyway, so if you're looking for good eats, good barbecue, and you want to stop there on Whiskey Row, great place, Doc Crow's. They don't pay me to say this. And on the way home, we stopped. Yeah, I guess I am a tater, guys. We stopped at Buffalo Trace. They only had 3.5 snakes when we got there. So we were in and out in about an hour. They had, they did have what I was looking for, actually. Now, mind you, I really wanted Elmer T. Lee. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but they did have the allocated bottle for the day. It was Old Weller Antique, 107. I grabbed a couple bottles of that. So the earlier days leading up to that, it was like 4 days in a row of like the same thing. Anyway, I was thrilled, finally. Because so many times we go down there and the day home is either the day after a holiday and they're not open or whatever, right? So anyway, they had the 107. I was thrilled. Anyway, and here's the fun part. I actually tasted the newest iteration of Traveler whiskey. No, guys. Listen, hang on. This was the full proof. This is the 125 proof Traveler. Guys, it's not crap. Yeah, can you believe I'm saying that? Now, did I buy it? No, hell no. But I tried it because it was free, and it wasn't terrible. And I think at full proof, it was drinkable, which I do not believe that the regular Traveler, I do not find that to be drinkable. The full proof, 125, it was drinkable. It wasn't terrible. So anyway, I wanted to set the record straight on that because I know I've been pretty nasty about Traveler over the years. I find full proof Traveler drinkable. So while I'm on Buffalo Trace, this is the part that I'm really trying to get to. They have announced 2 new releases, and this is actually just not too many days ago, I think. And both of these releases, they come straight out of some of the longest running bourbon experiments they've ever done at Buffalo Trace. So I need you to hang with me here, guys. There are a lot of numbers here, and maybe even some science. And look, I zone out real quick when somebody says numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. I get it. I'll try to get through this quick, but I can't get through it without going through this. So hang with me here. And first up is going to be Single Oak Rye Bourbon. And this one actually traces back to an experiment they did back in '99. That project involved 96 oak trees from the Missouri Ozarks, my home state, down probably near Lebanon, Missouri, actually, where the cooperage is. And each of these trees got split into a top half and a bottom half. And that gave them 192 unique barrels. See, we're going to talk numbers. Now, I'm lost already because numbers. But think of all the combinations they've got to keep track of. This is next level science, guys. Say what you will about Buffalo Trace, but this experiment really is pretty cool. So then they started changing variables. God help us. 7 of them to be exact. Things like mash bill, entry proof, char level, seasoning time, wood grain, where the tree section came from, and so on and so forth. The whole idea here with this experiment and the reasoning, the whole point here was experimentation. The whole idea here and their reasoning, the whole point of the experimentation, it was to figure out exactly how each little detail changes the final bourbon. Now, they let folks taste the results years later, if you were lucky enough to get your hands on these Single Oak Project bottles, they tallied up all the results and all the information and the feedback that they got. And barrel number 80, meaning nothing to no one, it came out on top. So now Buffalo Trace has recreated that barrel, all of the variables that went into barrel number 80, and they turned it into the first permanent release. That's the good news. It's a permanent release in what they're calling the Single Oak line. Now this one uses a rye recipes. It entered the barrel at 125 proof. Here we go, lots of numbers. Aged 8 years and comes out bottled at 90 proof. Kind of wish it was a higher proof point. It's being released in 375 bottles, which is those little bottles, and the suggested retail price is a hefty $74.99. Then there's the newest addition to the experimental collection. Here's the other bottle, guys. This is release number 28, and it's called Low Entry Proof Wheated Bourbon Whiskey. Now, this one focused on a different question, and that question is, what happens if you put wheated bourbon into the barrel at a lower proof than usual? Now, this is important because normally Buffalo Trace enters wheated bourbon at around 114 proof, but this one went in at just 105 proof. I don't know, that doesn't sound like a big difference to me, but it is a big difference, guys. And that actually lines up, they're saying, more closely with how some bourbon was barreled before Prohibition. Okay. And they're saying after aging, they bottled it at 107 proof, which is a little stronger than most experimental collection releases. Okay. Now we're at the good stuff, guys. What does all this taste like? And they say, the good folks at Buffalo Trace, they say flavor-wise, you're getting caramel, brown spice, leather, tobacco, oak, earth, and dried fig. And it's also a $3.75 bottle. This one comes in cheaper. This one is amazing, guys. This one only, what is it, 107 proof, all those tasting notes, and it comes in at $46.99. Okay, me. This is just me because it's my podcast. I would rather get a $3.75, and I'm going to tell you why. I'd rather pay a little bit more per ounce. And well, if I was just a regular, or I'm a regular, but if I was just a dude that liked whiskey, I'd probably want the $7.50. You're getting more bang for your buck. But it gives me a chance to get into a whiskey without as much commitment. And for the podcast, you know how I do it here, guys. Nobody gives me free stuff. I'm buying it, and I'm buying a lot of it. Now on the other hand, I am paying more. But for me, the $3.75 is the way to go. I think for me, that just works best. So I was thankful to see that 117 series bottle of rye at Old Forester. And this is really cool to me, at least selfishly, to see these releases coming from Buffalo Trace in the $3.75. Anyway, I think we're going to see even more of this. Obviously they make more money doing it this way. So I think we're eventually going to see this a lot more, and probably not just with the special releases. So another thing, I'm jumping back to this story, guys, because it is very interesting to me. I know it's complicated and it's involving science and all that stuff, but Buffalo Trace still has thousands of experimental barrels aging, and only a small number ever actually make it to a release. So when one of these shows up, it usually means they found something worth bottling. So to me, again, say what you will about Buffalo Trace, I think this is pretty fantastic what they've done here. A lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of years have gone into this. Now, the obvious question for me is, what does this actually mean if you're somebody trying to get a bottle of this stuff? Now, I mentioned both of these are 375s, and Buffalo Trace says they're going to go into their national distribution network. I think, from what I can tell, you're also going to be able to get them through the Buffalo Trace Distillery gift shop starting this month. So anyway, be on the lookout for these. I will definitely be on the lookout next time I go to Kentucky. Yeah, I'm a tater. Yeah, I like going to Limestone Branch. Yeah, I like going to Willett. I like going to Heaven Hill. But I'm drawn to Buffalo Trace because of the allocation. And I really want to get my hands on Elmer T. Lee one of these days without costing me an arm and a leg. Anyway, I think it's $89.99 at the gift shop there. And I think secondary is usually $2.50 to $3 if you're lucky. So anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. And I mentioned it kind of begrudgingly, but I'm also impressed. Okay, Buffalo Trace, they also, because God bless America, they are the face of whiskey anymore. They just dropped a 30-year-old Eagle Rare. And I'll give them this. They actually figured out how to make something that old drinkable. That's what folks are saying. And that's no small feat for Kentucky whiskey. 30 years old. But here's the deal. It's coming from basically a single barrel. So you're talking under 200 bottles, most likely, of this Eagle Rare 30. And the price tag? It's $12,000. And that means for 99.99% of us, this isn't even a consideration. It's just something we hear about. So I'm mentioning it to you guys. It doesn't really mean a hell of a lot. It's kind of like Millennium. They were just showing you how big they are there at Buffalo Trace. So look at mine, that kind of thing. And this is kind of the same thing, just to stay relevant. I don't blame them, and it would be amazing to taste it. But honestly, when I see stuff like this, it kind of makes sense how Sazarek's out there buying basically everything in sight and trying to buy everything in sight, because hell, a couple releases like this and damn, there's your next distillery. Okay, guys, Steph Curry. I don't talk a lot about the NBA on here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Steph Curry today. You know what I'm talking about, the NBA great, Golden State Warrior. He is a superstar. He is a Hall of Famer, without a doubt. And he's dropped a brand spanking new bourbon. And naturally, it's got all the bells and whistles. But it's not cheap. And this bourbon is called Player Exclusive Shacho. I know, that's my only thing here, guys. Can't we just call it the Player Exclusive? Right? Wouldn't that be cool? Right? No, but this is Player Exclusive Shacho. And they're calling it Shacho. It comes from his Gentleman's Cut brand. And I'll explain that more about that in a minute. This one's aged 11 years and it's finished in Japanese mizunara oak, which is rare, it's expensive, and adds flavors, they say, like incense, cinnamon, coconut, and sandalwood. Here's the cool part, right? It's cool. Steph didn't just pick a fancy mizunara barrel and call it a day. He actually named the bourbon after a Japanese leadership philosophy called Shacho, which emphasizes vision and humility. In his own words, Steph says, "Whether you're a leader on the court or in the community, I've found there's no better feeling than knowing you've impacted others as you're working towards greatness together." In Japanese culture, the term shacho is a revered word meaning leader, where vision and humility can power your path. We've crafted our latest player-exclusive limited edition to celebrate those milestones and moments where you've moved the needle as a leader in your way. And just to clarify, Hokkaido Prefecture. That's where these barrels come from. They come from Hokkaido Prefecture. That Mizunara oak, it comes from there. It's very rare. This stuff comes from way up north, the northernmost part of Japan's main islands. I looked into this because it was interesting to me. They say it's cold and it's snowy, and by all accounts, it is gorgeous, gorgeous landscape up there. Now, I've never been to Japan. I'd love to go. I would love to visit, and this would be a place that would be amazing, the Hokkaido Prefecture. Now, about this whole Mizunara oak thing. This Mizunara, they say it's a tricky one, and it's tricky for a number of reasons. They say it puts some really unique flavors into the whiskey, but there's a reason bottles finished in it usually cost a lot more. The trees, these oak trees, they take forever to mature, and we're talking about 200 to 300-year-old trees. And even once they're ready, they're tough to turn into barrels. They're hard to work with. The wood leaks, and there just isn't a whole lot of it out there. So that's why anything you see finished in this type of oak still carries that premium price tag, and it usually ends up exactly like this one in a limited release. And that brings me to my mind kind of wandering a little bit, guys. I'm thinking, I know this is where my mind's going. We dropped some atomic bombs on certain parts of Japan, and these trees are 200 to 300 years old. You get my drift here, right? So I jumped on over to Al Gore's amazing internet, and I wanted to see just exactly how far away are these trees from places like, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because these trees are old. And I learned something today. It turns out that these places are over 1,000 miles away from either one of those sites. So I'm good. Guys, that's just how my mind works. So back to the bourbon. This Steph Curry stuff. It comes in at a lovely 105 proof. It's made from a mash bill of 78% corn, 13% rye, and 9% malted barley, and it's produced at Boone County Distilling in Kentucky. One day I'll talk about Boone County. I'm not talking about it today. Here's the kicker about the Steph Curry limited edition stuff. They only put out 850 bottles. And here's the other kicker. They are priced at a whopping $250 each, and that's for, thankfully, a 750 milliliter bottle. So yeah, this isn't something you're actually going to pick up on a random Tuesday, but if you know a Steph Curry fan or a whiskey freak or anybody who loves the NBA or anybody who loves whiskey, you can get these on pre-order. So yeah, this isn't something you're casually picking up on a random Tuesday, guys. But if you know a Steph Curry fan or a whiskey freak or maybe an NBA fan or maybe just somebody who loves whiskey, it's available for pre-order right now on Reserve Bar. I checked. There are still some left. It's $250. Get you a bottle of this 11-year-old Mizunara finished bourbon from our good friend, Steph Curry. So I promised at the top of the show to tell y'all who is the champion, the big winner for 2026. Yes, 2026 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey of the Year here in April. So I ask for the envelope, please. The winner is New Riff's Bottled in Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon. And I reviewed New Riff Bottled in Bond back on season 2, episode, I think it was around 20 or so. So I want you to, when we get done here, finish this episode. You want to hear about Jackson Purchase, right? I promise you. Go back when we get done here, find the episode where I review New Riff Bottled in Bond. Maybe I was on to something there. I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert here or a spoiler. Just go back and listen to that episode, guys. What's blowing my mind right now isn't that I reviewed this not that long ago, but that they gave it world champion Kentucky bourbon for 2026. That isn't blowing my mind. What's blowing my mind here? How can we in April? I just checked the calendar. How can we crown a winner for 2026? And guys, I don't claim to be an expert here on this podcast by any means. I'm just a dude who really enjoys whiskey and sharing what I think about it with you guys and hearing what you think about it too, because I love that feedback exchange that we get, especially on social media and when you send me stuff about the show. But guys, this is April. I don't get it. I'm not going to pretend that I get it. It is what it is. Let me tell you what the experts said the tasting notes are for New Riff Bottled in Bond. And compare these. Again, compare this with what I gave you back several months ago. Actually, it was over a year ago, I think, on what I said about New Riff Bottled in Bond. The experts at the World Whiskeys 2026, they say lemon zest and butterscotch on the nose, a bright palate with cinnamon, caramel, fresh fig, vanilla cookie, it goes on and on, sweet pastry, dried leather, pumpernickel rye, corned beef, and brine. A warm and sweet finish with caramel, lemon peel, crumb cookie, and coffee. All right, guys. This is the epitome of bullshit. This is what I say when I say there's bullshit in the whiskey world. It's right here in front of me. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I thought about New Riff Bottled in Bond. I'm just going to encourage you to go listen to it. And like I said, I'm no expert, but guys, come on, guys. This just makes you look silly. I mean, does it have some of these notes in it? Maybe. Guys, nothing. There is nothing. I've never tasted anything with, what is this, 19, 20. Come on, guys. So that's the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey winner. New Riff Bottled in Bond. And that always makes my mind wander, and maybe your mind too. I think, well, who won the not Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey of the Year for 2026? Well, I looked into that too. And it's our good friends at 15 Stars. They won Best Non-Kentucky Bourbon. It's their 15-year artisan collection, limited production of 1,290 bottles. The whiskey released, I think it was late last year. They say it offers a refined blend of straight bourbon whiskeys aged 15 and 12 years, meticulously sourced from both Kentucky and Indiana. And so that's why this cannot be considered a Kentucky bourbon, because it's blended. So it's sourced, and that explains at least the non-Kentucky bourbon, even though it has some Kentucky bourbon in it. All right. They say this one's got, a warm nose with rich oak, a well-rounded and viscous palate with black pepper, sage, a burst of honeycomb, and heath bar, soft spice, chewy tannins, and wood notes, a balanced yet deep finish with moderate spice. So there you go. And that was a big winner for 2026 non-Kentucky bourbon. So this is a big story out of Kentucky right now, and it's part legal battle and part bourbon branding drama. And I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while, so I'm kind of feeling like I'm hitting with some hardcore facts and figures and science. And now here we go into the law. No, I am not a lawyer, but here we go, because this kind of stuff fascinates me, and I've been communicating with the guys from Fresh. Anyway, this is a legal case here, out of the weird and now even wilder world of whiskey. I don't think I have to explain how crazy things are getting lately. This one has to do with race, it has to do with legality, and it's kind of crazy. So a federal court in Kentucky just dismissed a lawsuit over the claim of which distillery gets to call itself the first black-owned bourbon distillery in Kentucky. Now, this fight was between Bro Brothers, and it's B-R-O-U-G-H, Bro Brothers Distillery. It's run by 3 Yarbrough brothers. That's their last name, Yarbrough. And Fresh Bourbon. So it's Yarbrough brothers. I think they filed this against Fresh Bourbon. And Fresh is owned by Sean and Tia Edwards. So we've got all the players. Bro Brothers, they argued that Fresh Bourbon was basically lying because technically they didn't have a licensed distillery in Kentucky until 2022, while Bro Brothers had their license in 2020. You following me here? Fresh Bourbon, now they pushed back and they said they'd been distilling in Kentucky since 2018 through a collaboration at Hartfield and Company Distillery. And they also pointed to a 2021 Kentucky Senate resolution that recognized them as the first black-owned bourbon distillery. That's how they defended this claim or this challenge. Now the court, that's where this gets legal. They looked into this claim under the Lanham Act. It's basically the law that covers false advertising. And they said to win, Bro Brothers had to prove that Fresh Bourbon's statement was false and that it actually misled consumers and that it caused them some harm. Well, after they deliberated and they looked at everything, the court decided the statement wasn't literally false. They said Fresh Bourbon never claimed to be the first licensed distillery, just the first recognized black-owned bourbon distillery. And since the Kentucky Senate had officially recognized them, that gave them solid backing. So, even if the statement was a little misleading, Bro Brothers really had no evidence that customers were actually deceived or that it affected anybody or harmed anybody. So, without that, the false advertising claim fell short. The court also tossed Bro Brothers' state law claims like unfair competition, deceptive trade practices, yada, 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 because, again, they said no proof of actual harm. Now, you're thinking, Stark, for Christ's sake, what's the point here? All right, the bottom line. You can't just say, I'm first, and expect somebody else to have a lawsuit automatically stick. The courts, this is so important. The court has to have hard evidence that people were misled and that it made a real difference in the market and caused harm. Now, keep in mind, all the words that I've said here, this is not my opinion, because look, I don't want to get sued by the Bro Brothers or by Fresh or anybody. I don't want to get sued. This is just what's being said after this ruling. This is my interpretation. I'm not a lawyer. Please don't take legal advice from me. So I really have no idea who was first or last or whatever. It's just fascinating to me that we've got all these legal battles going on now. We've got Uncle Nearest going on. We've got distilleries closing. We just got so many things going on, mergers and acquisitions. And now here we've got Bro Brothers suing Fresh for this claim. Now I think, and this is my opinion, I think I'm allowed to say my opinion, for spirit brands anyway, this is a reminder. If you're making big claims, make sure you can back them up, not just with marketing shtick, but with facts or documentation or even official recognition, which is what we had here. If you don't, you're just going to start a fight you can't win. Bro Brothers, they picked a fight here. It was thrown out. So in this round, Fresh Bourbon walks away with the win, and Bro Brothers takes what you would call the loss. And the first black-owned bourbon debate in Kentucky, it ends with Fresh Bourbon being the winner, at least in court. Oh, and full disclosure, again, legal disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge or anybody who's actually qualified to say anything about this case. And basically, if you take any legal advice from me, the court will laugh at you, and probably me too. All right, Whiskey Freaks, we've done enough science, we've done enough law, we've done enough thinking for the day, and now we need to get to the fun part, the drinking part. Today I'm holding in my hot little hands here, I am sipping on batch 1 from our good friends, and I do really mean good friends, at Jackson Purchase Distillery in Hickman, Kentucky. And I was fortunate enough to have Craig Beam, the master distiller from Jackson Purchase, on the podcast just a few weeks back. You can catch that entire interview in the podcast archives. Please look that up, as well as that new riff, Bottled in Bond. He and I had a great conversation about how he spent decades of his life growing up at and being master distiller at Heaven Hill with his dad, Parker Beam, and his granddaddy. And now his new venture is at Jackson Purchase in Western Kentucky. And like I said, it's right on the border there with my state, on the Mississippi River, the state of Missouri. Now I'm gonna. This is kind of cool. I've got this opportunity here. I'm gonna let Craig give you the deets on this bourbon whiskey in his own words.
Okay, well, this is the 4-year-old Jackson Purchase. Right out the gate, August 1st, 2021 is the burst burling of this, and so we bottled this. We came out this brand of last year, 2025, during the Bardstown Bourbon Festival. It's 4 years old, 117.8 proof, 70% corn, 20% rye, and 10% malt. And the color is fantastic for 4 years old. It's really dark. It looks like a 6 or 8 year old, and I take and it goes in a regular charred forward barrel. So we didn't do anything to enhance the color. The only thing I think enhanced it was the Western Kentucky weather is a lot warmer down there than it is in the central part of Kentucky.
Now today I am tasting with a Glencairn, my favorite St. Louis Bourbon Society Glencairn. And I'm not gonna lie, guys. I've already tasted this stuff. And there's a reason for that. A lot of times on here, it'll be a fresh crack, right? Sometimes it will not, and I'll let you know. The reason I've already cracked this bottle open, number one, I've had it now for several weeks. I was not going to leave it unopened. And because when it got delivered to my house, it was like Christmas. I had to crack it right then. But I still wanted to walk through it with Mr. Craig Beam. And I didn't feel like I would be comfortable doing that, having not tasted his first and only whiskey so far from Jackson Purchase. So, I want to make this very clear. Jackson Purchase Distillery, nor Craig Beam, nobody gave me this bottle. This whiskey I purchased from them on jacksonpurchasebourbon.com. You can also purchase it from them. I paid $75. I had it delivered to my house. It was a beautiful thing. Great people. His wife, Nicole, an absolutely amazing lady. Both of those guys, Craig and Terry, they're running an operation down there. Great people. I was honored to have them on the podcast. Anyway, please listen to that episode. Like I was saying, guys, about this, you guys know how I roll. I bought this myself, and I tasted it because I wanted to be honest with Craig when I sat down with him. So as usual, I always say this, guys, sometimes I'm a broken record. I apologize, but I got to say it. Number one, I always say, get a notebook, get a pen and paper, whatever you got to do. I've got a little Heaven Hill notebook that I have. I write down all my tasting notes, when I taste, where I taste, what I ate that day, all the things that I think might impact the way I receive the whiskey that I'm tasting. Doesn't cost you. You can go to Walmart for 50 cents and buy a notebook. You're going to want to go back and look months, years later. How did it taste? Or you want to compare one batch with another batch, right? Anyway, I'm not your mom, but I'm going to tell you, go get a notebook. And I'm also going to tell you to never judge the color of a whiskey inside the bottle alone. You got to pour it in a glass to really evaluate it. And so I did. I've poured this in a glass. And the color on this one, now guys, this is 4 years old, right? We know it's 4 years old, Craig told us. And I'm telling you, this does not look like a 4-year-old whiskey. The color on this is incredible. If you put this, I'm telling you, if you set this down and you put it in front of 100 whiskey freaks and you'd say, how old do you say this whiskey is? I'll bet only 20 would say it's 4 years old. I would say 80 of us would say older than 4 years. Now, keep in mind, it is foolproof. It's 117.8, but it's got this beautiful, warm, kind of dark gold color going on, like a dark wildflower honey. It really looks great. And the legs, it's got decent legs. I'm swirling it back and forth in my glass. You watch it drip down the inside of the glass here, the Glencairn. It is fantastic. It's very, very good. And the nose. You get this heavy caramel note right off the bat. Some sweet oak. It's a very sweet smell coming out of this Glencairn. Get some nice baking spices out of here. It's like this bready note, like a bread dough, like a doughy note, okay, how about, think about like a dark brown baked pie crust. That's the best way I could describe it. There's really a lot going on here, guys, on the nose, and there's like this little bit of fruitiness in here, maybe this apple note. Oh, and the ethanol, the alcohol or the ethanol, right? There is almost nothing here coming out of this glass at me. Nothing's jumping out at me here, and we're at 117 proof. So at this point, I say all signs are pointing in the right direction. At least so far, so good. Let me get into this stuff and get a sip. There is this rich, thick caramel note right off the bat. It's spicy too. It's a 70-20-10. So it's got that 20% rye in here, and you can, on the first sip, you can feel it, you can taste it. This stuff is coating my tongue. This caramel note, It's this creamy, caramely note. And there is, I got apple on the nose, right? I kind of like apple pie on the nose was a note I got. But what I'm getting here is this fruity, like cherry note. And I'm getting this as it goes down the throat, right? I'm getting this gentle, like Western Kentucky hug, I guess you would say, since they're out in Hickman, Kentucky. I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary from something that's 117 proof. It is not overpowering my tongue, my throat. It is not unpleasant, but you're like, you know it's there. Let me get another sip. Okay. There is a hint. Oh man. There is a hint of cinnamon in here. And like this. Okay, let me explain this one. It's this. All right. This is my second sip today on here. It's like this little bit leather. There's this leather note. Okay. This is going to sound crazy. It's a sweet leather note. Like when I was a kid, a million years ago, I had a Bible, and we'd go to church, and I had a Bible cover. I had a cover on this Bible that wrapped around the Bible to protect it, and it zipped up, right? It was this zipper pouch, for lack of better words. It was like a wrap around the Bible. No joke. This note here is taking me back like 40 years. It's this kind of sweet leather note. And I know that there, you hear certain guys say, well, is it old book leather? Is it, burnt leather? It's just this sweet leather that reminds me of my Bible cover. I know, sounds crazy. Let me get another sip. So the caramel, it's so good. There's lots of good things going on here, kids. And now, third sip. On the finish here, I'm getting this terrific tobacco note, like pipe tobacco. There's a difference, and there's a difference in tobaccos, right? It's not a cigar, it's not a cigarette, this is pipe tobacco flavor to me. And combined with all these other notes, this has really got a lot going on. So what's the verdict? Well, I'll have the answer right after the money spot. Are you looking to update your bar or man cave with some great photographs or wall art? Head over to Etsy at famousdocs.etsy.com. Pick up some fantastic prohibition, bourbon, whiskey, and gangster-related photographs and wall art. Okay, guys, you got to check this stuff out. They've also got stuff from Al Capone, John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, all kinds of cool photos over there to decorate your man cave or your bar. And if you purchase 4 or more items at one time, you'll get 20% off your entire order. This is for a limited time, guys. That's famousdocs.etsy.com. famousdocs.etsy.com. Now, on the Blind Tasting Podcast, we have 3 verdict options when we taste. Are we going to keep it? Are we going to collect it? Or are we going to cull it? To keep it means to proudly display it in your liquor cabinet or bar. This stuff's good for a pour anytime, but there's really no need to stock up on it because it's always available. Collect it. Grab another bottle or maybe 2 bottles since you find it so damn delicious, or it just may not be easy to get your hands on. And the last option is cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. In the case of Jackson Purchase Full Proof Batch 1 Straight Bourbon Whiskey, I say collect it. This stuff is delicious, guys. It's dessert in a glass. It's a dangerous whiskey. And what I mean by that, you're going to sip it. And then you're going to sip it some more. And you're going to keep on sipping it. And soon enough, you're going to be like, oh shit, where'd all the bourbon go? Now, truthfully, if this whiskey lacks anything, and it doesn't lack much, it's the finish. And let me explain. It is a shorter, less impactful kind of finish than I'd like. But in the back of my mind, and guys, it's just 4 years old. So maybe I'm giving it some grief where I shouldn't. It really is a pretty complete pour. From the nose to the palate, the front, mid, maybe on the back end, just a little bit lacking. But again, it's 4 years old. Let me get another sip here. Guys, this was really hard for me to contain my excitement. And you probably could sense my excitement during this tasting anyway, and the way I was talking about it. Guys, it's just that good. And there's nothing subtle about it either. The nose comes across like this heavy, delicious caramel and sweet oak and other bourbon-y goodness. If you want to, I can't believe I'm saying this. If you want a 4-year-old bourbon that tastes like it's 6 or 8 or maybe even older than that, and it packs a punch of tasting notes. If you like a bourbon with character, this is going to be your jam. This is I would call this the oldest 4-year-old bourbon whiskey I've ever tasted. It's like my son. All right, don't be weird. What I mean is, it's like my son. He's always, even as a small kid, and he's a grown man now, but as a kid, he was always so much older than he actually was. Especially like when you hear folks say somebody's wise beyond their years, that's what I'm talking about here. This 4-year-old bourbon, this 4-year-old stuff, it's outstanding. It's old beyond its years. Now, there's just one problem here, and I'm using air quotes when I say problem, guys. The only problem here is availability. But, like I said before, I got it on JacksonPurchaseBourbon.com. Don't go to JacksonPurchaseDistillery.com. That won't get you any bourbon. JacksonPurchaseBourbon.com. You can get it for $75. You can get it delivered to your house. I think they deliver to most states at this point, and I'm pretty sure they still have some of this batch 1 available. Oh shit! I never really mentioned mouthfeel. Maybe I did. The mouthfeel is terrific. I think terrific is probably the best way to describe this bourbon. It's just terrific, guys. And look, I'm not saying this because Craig gave me some of his time. And I'm not saying this because I got free whiskey, because I bought it. I'm telling y'all, go get you a bottle or maybe 2 of the Jackson Purchase Full Proof. And I say, do it while you still can. Real quick, y'all, I've got a fantastic episode coming up real soon, and it's with a newish whiskey brand also out of Kentucky. I promise you're going to want to hear about these cats. So make sure you subscribe all the places so you don't miss a thing. I'm trying to drop more whiskey news on a regular basis, breaking news especially, and do some of those shorter episodes, but I'm going to have plenty of these longer episodes for you too. Well, guys, last but not least, you know the deal. I got to give a shout out to the farmers, the distillery production guys and gals, and the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and especially you truck drivers out there. Mr. Charlie, my friend, y'all are the ones that make this happen. So cheers to all of y'all. That's all I got for today, Whiskey Freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your #1 attitudinal bourbon destination. I'm going to finish this Jackson Purchase. See y'all.